Today, we're off to Berlin, Germany to do some sightseeing, visit some family. It's Dana's first trip there. It's her kid's first trip there. It's the first time that I've been back since 2016. During that time, Berlin Brandenburg Airport finally opened, and with that, some new hotels. So our first stop is the Moxy Hotel in Berlin, Germany, next to Berlin Brandenburg Airport. Come on. Hey everybody, welcome to the Down the Road Travel Channel. My name is Will Van Winkle, and today we are headed to Berlin, Germany. We'll be staying at the Moxy Hotel near Berlin Brandenburg Airport, also known as Willy Brandt Airport or just BER. Construction on the airport started in 2006, and it was supposed to open in 2011, but it didn't fully open until 2022 due to construction errors. It's located about 11 miles southeast of Berlin, and the Moxy is directly across the freeway, or Autobahn. One problem with this being that far out, it's in the town of Waltersdorf in German. My pronunciation is probably still not correct, but that W is pronounced like a V.
The concept is good. They're trying to be hip and modern and sleek. But there's absolutely no parking. So if you're renting a car, you're going to have trouble finding places to park. The other problem is the buses stop running at certain times of the day. So unless you're leaving the city at about 8 p.m., and that's from Alexanderplatz, you're not going to get back to your hotel in time to do anything. And now if you're there in the summer, the sun stays up until about like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. It is about 9:30, almost 10 o'clock. It's been overcast most of the day. You see how bright it is outside still. So the location is not that great. There's not a lot of public transportation service in the area, and there's no thought put into parking. There is a parking garage that costs a little bit extra. I have no idea how much. It's not actually part of the hotel, and it's a little bit of a hike from the hotel. I'm parked on the street with a lot of other people. It's pretty packed. So it's good for what it is. And it's good for a few nights. We're here for an entire 9-day period, so it's a little difficult. And then adding into that, there's some construction going on. So that blocks off the road actually leading up to the hotel. So that makes it a little more difficult as well. So this is what it looks like when you get into the room. It is very nice, very modern, very sleek. Also very small, which is normal for hotels in the Berlin area. You see they forgot to place anything where you can put your clothing. They have a couple of hangers. This room has 4 hangers. They've got a little bar that says don't hang from the bar. Once you've gotten here and you've unpacked, the rooms get very cluttered. This is what it looks like after you've checked in with 2 people. One of the nice amenities is the inclusion of air conditioning. Now I set ours to about 19 degrees Celsius. It did not get below 21.5. I don't understand these little weird leather pillows back there. You know, if you get out of the shower, you got wet hair or something like that, or if it gets a little warm in the room, those are not the most comfortable thing. And the view leaves a little something to be desired. When you get in, you gotta hold your key here for 5 seconds. When you get the green light, then you can push the floor. A lot of people are not understanding that you have to use your card in order to make the elevator work. So if you're in the lobby and the elevator's full, somebody can't figure out how to get it to work, you're gonna be hitting the button and opening the door on them. The hallways are very warm. So the rooms are air conditioned, but the hallway is not. And so in the summertime, it is very hot. Word of caution, if you have room cleaning service while you're gone, they turn up your air conditioner. I had to turn it back down. And so I got up to 85 today with the windows open because they opened the windows. Of course, being a hotel, it is subject to surge pricing. One night in July was $104 or 104 euro a night, whereas one night in February was as low as 82.
There is a bar, a business center, fitness center, a lounge with games, including a foosball table, and they offer some snacks as well. The amenities are great, and they do add to the hip feeling, but your bar staff is your front desk staff, is your kitchen staff. So, in fact, there's absolutely no separation from the bar and from the front desk. This causes some confusion when people are trying to check in. They don't really know where to go. It also makes things difficult in other manners. For example, I was trying to buy a bottle of soda, and it took me 15 minutes just to purchase a bottle because a large tour group had checked in at the same time. The staff is, in general, pretty apathetic. Now, this can be the normal in some of the smaller hotels in Germany, Berlin in particular, because it's a large city. They have a lot of tourists. They're busy. They don't really care. They have things to do. This, however, being a newer model from the Marriott, they should have been a little bit friendlier. On one of the days that we requested the room to be cleaned, the staff didn't come by. There's no phone in the hotel room, so in order to get anything, you have to go down to the front desk. And for example, we ran out of toilet paper on this occasion. And, if there's a ton of people trying to check in and you can't even call the front desk, you have to go down there. Maybe it's late at night. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're not feeling well. It's not an optimal way of handling things. We were lucky because we did have 3 rooms split between 5 people. And one of the rooms had a couple of extra rolls of toilet paper. So, we just pulled that over. But like say you need towels or something like that you can't take from another room, or you don't have another room like we did, there's going to be some problems coming up from there. Another problem that we had is that the front desk staff, they didn't seem to be extremely fluent in either English or German, and I speak both. And they were having trouble understanding things that I was saying when I was trying to ask for something the one day that we went down there to try to order something. They give you a little card for a free welcome drink. They don't tell you that free welcome drink is either a non-alcoholic out of the cooler, which would include some beer, or their Moxy mocktail, which they will add alcohol to with a additional fee. They're not very efficient, the front desk. They didn't have the room keys prepared when we got there, and when we asked for extra keys for the rooms that had 2 people in them, they seemed very put out, and they tried to explain to us that it takes a long time to make these keys, where they should have had them prepared after the prior guest checkout. The room's been flipped and ready to use. Those keys should have been made, and they weren't. So that caused a little bit of a delay in checking in, and it caused a little bit of friction between the front desk staff and us while we were trying to check in. The hotel being so new, it was clean and in generally good repair. They get extra points for having some sort of air conditioning. However, it didn't seem to be properly vented because the room built up a lot of condensation every day, and it made the fabric in the room very wet, and it made things kind of uncomfortable to sleep in. Overall, I think I would give them probably about a 5 out of 10, being generous for the air conditioning, being generous for the sleek, modern design. They lose points for lack of services. They know that the closest restaurant is about 15 minutes away if you have a car, way longer, up to an hour if you're taking the bus. Now, that bus part, that's not their fault. They don't make the infrastructure. The airport's been open less than a year, and I imagine the Moxy has been open roughly the same amount of time. But when they know that there's no infrastructure around them, they could have elected to put in a restaurant, a full-service restaurant in the hotel, or maybe a small shopping center rather than just a case of drinks and that's it. They could have done something to cover for the lack of infrastructure. The front desk staff could be better trained, better prepared, and a separate service staff for the bar and for the snacks needed as well. Also, the bar ran out of a lot of those snacks. They did have a plethora of the frozen pizzas, and the oven for the frozen pizzas is counter height at the bar, so if you're there with a small child who's getting a little rambunctious, they reach over, they tap that, you're creating a burn hazard. It's not very well designed in that manner either. Your clothes will most likely be wrinkled because most of them will need to stay in the suitcase. Obviously, depending on how long you're going to be there. If you're there for 2 days on a business trip and you just have to hang stuff up, there's 4 hangers, so your clothes will be wrinkled. And there's no ironing board, there's no iron included in the room, there's no laundry services on site, and in fact the closest laundromat that we found was about 3 hours away in Berlin proper. So you have that problem, and then you have the next problem is either you're going to put your dirty clothes that you've been walking around Germany in all day back in your suitcase with your clean stuff, and your clean stuff's going to stink, or your room's going to get very cluttered because your dirty clothes will end up on the floor, or your clean clothes will end up on the tiny little fold-out desk that they give you. There's no seating in the rooms except for a couple of small stools that have no backs and they're not very comfortable. I kind of pulled mine out from underneath the table and I propped it up against the wall. So sometimes I was able to sit down a little bit there other than just sitting on the bed. We didn't spend a lot of time in our hotel room, so it wasn't a major problem for us. But for some people that are trying to go on public transportation, you get back to your room about 8:30, 9 o'clock, you're not ready to go to bed, or it's super light out until 10:30, you've got hours to kill. And they do have the lounge downstairs with games and things like that. But it's not the best way to handle it. And you may not be the type of person that wants to sit down in the lounge because they're playing not extremely loud, but they're playing a little bit louder, mostly disco pop music. And if you're not into that, or you just have a headache or something like that, you don't want to be around it. Now, it may seem like I'm being a little harsh, but I personally don't feel that a modern design will in any way make up for functionality. Would I stay there again? I will say not at this time. Keep in mind the airport, again, was open less than a year. The hotel wasn't very far behind it. So at the time of making this video, there's not a lot of infrastructure in that area. Who knows what the coming years will bring. But at this time, there's really nothing to do there. There's no place to get food. There's no place to do laundry. It's just not worth it. I would have saved the money on the rental car, stayed someplace closer into town with better infrastructure, and not needed the car. Now, what I did personally with the car is I drove into the closest train station that I knew that would have some parking availability. Just parked the car every day. So I didn't even really need the car, and we were still buying train tickets. So I would have saved that money. I would have used it somewhere else. But because we were doing a couple of things outside of Berlin, like we did Tropical Islands and we did Heide Park, it made sense for us to have the car, and we needed the car to get to these places anyway. We could have taken the train. It just would have taken a lot longer. It is worth noting that if you're looking for a mini fridge or something like that in your room, it does not really exist. It's not very common in Germany. I can't say it doesn't exist because I did work at a hotel that some of the rooms had mini fridges and some things like that. But the Moxy is no exception. It's not the norm in Europe, or in Germany at least, to have a mini fridge in your room. So if you want cold drinks, you're going to have to buy them from the drink case, or you're going to have to drink everything room temperature. I would be interested to know what you think about the Moxy at the Berlin airport. Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to our page, like this video, and if you like the original music used in the background, make sure you find us on your favorite streaming service or right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all down the road.
Let's hit the road.